Hey there, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. Now, last week I posted a video in response to a live stream question that I received, and the Google form is below if you want to submit your own. And this week I thought I'd talk about creating social media activities in your literature classroom. Because that question was about how to get students more engaged in an early writing course. And so in this case, I'm thinking about literature courses, how to get students engaged, potentially by having them use tools that already really interest them, that they love using, that they use all the time. And so in this video, here's like a few ideas of how you can create social media activities in a literature classroom. Now, it depends really on how you're approaching the course, how many books you have, how many assignments you already have, but it can be extra credit or it can be one of the major units, it can be one of the smaller units, just depending on your preference. And so to begin, I had in my writing course, actually, it wasn't a literature course, a remediation project that students did. So it was a group project where students had to choose one literary text and they had to remediate it. So they had to change either the genre or the format of this particular text. So for example, one of my students or one of the teams chose Finding Nemo and they remediated it into a movie trailer, but they made it a horror film rather than the kids' movie that it is, right? I had another one who chose another movie and they remediated it into a poem, right? And so in this case, you might have some students chose to create a Instagram account for the characters in another movie, right? And so this could be the avenue, right? This is why I'm telling the story. Maybe you want to have them get a little bit creative. Hey, we're going to be reading these books, right? I want you to go into a group project kind of thing, and you're going to be creating an Instagram account for one of the characters in this book or TV show, movie, whatever it is that you're teaching, fairy tale, poem. And so it can be a private account. They don't have to show it publicly if they don't want to. But the idea here is I want you to really study the character that you've chosen and create a social media account that would actually be realistic, right, true to life for this character. So if you have, for example, Wednesday, right, Wednesday Addams in the TV show Wednesday, what would her TikTok channel look like? What would her Instagram account look like? What kind of things would she post, right? What would her captions say? What hashtags would she use, right? So would she choose to post on certain days about certain events happening in the world? So really having them do a character study and then creatively create something as if they were that character. And so this can be an avenue for discussing things like characterization, right? As well as discussing, how social media can really influence the popularity of literary text, right? So maybe they are having a public account. Well, did they find that they had a lot of followers by the end of this experiment? Did they end up getting a lot of comments about certain things that they posted? So how does their sharing about this literary text influence the world around them, influence how they, received feedback from their viewers of the social media account. So kind of twofold. It can be a study of a character as well as a discussion of social media and its connection to literary text, especially new media if you're doing movies, TV shows, etc. in your classroom. Another option is to focus on promotion of a literary text. So maybe in your classroom, it's not just studying the text itself and analyzing it, but thinking about it, again, in the real world. So if you were going to promote this book to different audiences, to teenagers, to young adults, to mothers, to the elderly, to a certain culture, to a certain demographic, right? Whatever the case may be, if you had to choose 3 target audiences, how would you promote this text differently to them? What choices are you going to be making when doing the promotion, as far as tools goes, as far as images used, as far as words used, when you're going to send the promotion, how are you going to send the promotion? Just kind of giving them the thought of, okay, let's actually think about more than just the book itself, right? The characters itself, the plot itself, but how would you get others invested in this literary text? How would you approach that? So again, it's kind of a creative writing project, but in a way, it's more thinking about the text as like a live, object, right? If you had power over it, how would you make others invested in it as you are invested in it, right? If you were the author of this text and you want to get more sales. How would you approach it? So creating some kind of promotional activity or unit for a text in the course. Now, while there's some uncertainty about Twitter at this point, it's still working, right? So potentially you can use this as a tool as well. So maybe having your students live tweet their reading of a certain text or all the text in your particular course, their thoughts on it, their favorite quotes from it, their takeaways from it, things they learned about the author during it or about, the setting that it takes place in, other books they've read that remind them of it for some reason. So having them use like a course hashtag so it's easy to follow all the tweets submitted by your students for the course. So in this case, it depends on your preference, right? So maybe this is just participation kind of grade. Like, are you reading and responding and showing that response to the text via Twitter? Now, again, some students might be like, well, I don't want to post about this on Twitter, or I don't have a Twitter account. So you're gonna have to figure out, are you gonna require them to create a Twitter account for this course? Maybe you can say like, well, you can create an extra one just for this course and then not have it on your personal account. So it depends on if you're willing to require all of your students to have a Twitter account. If that's not something you're willing to do, then obviously this wouldn't work for you. Unless, of course, you use another type of tool. So for example, I think Microsoft has Yammer, which is kind of similar to Facebook in a way, but it does allow for you to post, just text or videos or images, whatever the case may be. So if your university has a Microsoft account for all students, you may just have them use that instead. So unlikely that you're actually using it for social media, but it is a social media tool. So that's an option that you might consider. But this is just a way of, again, having like, let's go ahead and have this like online conversation about the courses in about the text in our course by tweeting, about them. So that can be an avenue as well. Now, if you're not interested in having them curate social media because you don't want to have to like watch it all or look at all of it and read it all, then potentially you can have them study social media in relation to your text. So are any of your books either popular enough or important enough that people are talking about it on social media? If that's the case, you maybe have them study what's being said about this text. How is it being said? Who is saying it? Why are they saying it? So again, having this like wider real world analysis of this text by seeing, what's happening on social media in relation to it. So this could be, again, a smaller activity that you do just for if you just happen to have a book that is something to talk about a lot on social media. It can be just a smaller activity of like, okay, like what do others think about this text? What are they saying about it? Why are they saying it? And how does that connect to your own thoughts about this text and how we're studying it in this course? So that's another option as well. If you don't want the students to be curating it, they can be analyzing it instead. So just a few ways of having, again, like things that interest students, social media, right, in your classroom to hopefully get them more invested in the books that you're reading or the movies, TV shows that you're watching, whatever the case may be there. So if you try these out and it works out well, I would love for you to share in the comments. If you have your own ideas for how to use social media in the literature classroom, let us know in the comments as well. I'll see you next time with a new video. And of course, click like if you found this one helpful and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future content.